Hey, it's Ashley, and I'm here with a mentee case study. I am so excited to share my mentee Selena's success story through strategies she learned in the Mentor Me Accelerator. A $20,000 salary increase and a higher level role for Selena, all while working in education. And as a mentor, I could not be more proud. I think that what's really special about Selena and her story is that she broke so many of the myths, so many of the things that people tell you that you can't do, so many of the things that people tell you have to wait for, or that, you can't do. You can't get a higher paying role in education. You can't make more money by staying at the same organization. You can't advance, and leverage career coaching in a meaningful way. All those myths, right, that people tell you about yourself or about your career development, they're just not true. And Selena's story is a beautiful example of that. And so I am so excited to welcome my mentee Selena to today's live, and have her tell her story about what she learned through the Mentor Me Accelerator. It looks like she is in the building, so I'm going to invite her in. So thrilled to have you here, and congratulations. She got the job, she got the job, she got the job, she got the job. Yes.
I'm
so
excited.
proud of you. I'm so excited to celebrate with you in today's live and to honor you and your commitment to your career development. You did the work and it worked. One of the mottos of Mentor Me is that it works when you work it, and honey, you worked it. And so I'm just so excited to talk to you about yourself, your growth and development in your career, your experience in the Mentor Me Accelerator program. We'll get into some of the strategies that you learned and leveraged in your career development. We'll talk about sort of where you were before you started in the program and sort of how you leverage those strategies. And of course, we're going to celebrate this really amazing milestone and new role that you officially, made public on LinkedIn the other day. I saw that. I was like, yes. I love when my mentees make it LinkedIn official. It's like, oh, okay, we for real now. So, so welcome. So good to see you.
Nice to see you too.
Yes.
It's just I'm really happy to just be here and share my story because, it was unexpected. It wasn't what I wanted, but it turned out to be beneficial.
Yeah. And I feel like that it's often like our career development is so often like that, right? We have, there's so many people who believe in sort of the idea of a dream job or, has to work one way, or this is the only way to do it. Right. And so I love to be able to get my mentees in conversation, right? So that other women who are considering advancing their career can see that, regular women just like them are investing in their career development and being intentional and strategic about their career. And you don't have to wing it. You don't have to have all the answers yourself. You don't have to DIY your career development. You can actually have a strategy and apply the strategy and get results. So let's kind of walk through your sort of journey in your career development, particularly as it relates to the program. And I'm just reading some questions from the standard feedback form that I asked my mentees when they complete the program. I'm interested to know what was the most pressing issue for you in your career at the time that you applied to the Mentor Me Accelerator? When you think back to that time in your life and in your career, what was the most pressing issue for you at the time?
For me, it was about being underutilized.
Yeah.
I have so many skills, and the position that I was in was very just kind of tasked. And it's the same, routine every day. And so I just was like, I need a change. I need something else. And so that's why I joined the program. And, you taught me so many things in there. And one of the most important things that really made this new position just mine is that the making the coffee.
Yes.
That is so important because that plays a really big role in how I got this position. And, it's having those conversations with your coworkers that may seem, what you say, mundane, but it played off. And I talked to my coworkers, and we would talk about true crime and all the different things like that. And, in the long run, it really kind of got me to where I am. So can I just go into?
Yeah,
to
well,
that?
hold on. I want to
Okay.
slow track it because you're gonna give all the secrets away. We gotta like let the build some anticipation here, Selena. I'm so glad that you said that because what Selena is talking about is a strategy that I teach in the Mentor Me Accelerator. I teach it in session 7. Session 6. I think it's actually in session 6. It's called Making the Coffee, right? So there's a strategy around authenticity and building meaningful and helpful and intentional relationships at work so that you can leverage those relationships to get what you want. I think a lot of times when it comes to building relationships at work, there's like 2 camps. There's people who all of their best friends are their coworkers. They love them to death. They spend every waking hour with them, even outside of work. They like kikiing and they besties. Or there are people who are like, I don't like the people I work with. I ain't finna be in nobody's face, blah, 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 blah. And there's like 2 camps of people. And I will tell you as a career coach, as a woman who's worked in corporate, nonprofit, and educational leadership, I've been doing this work for more than 15 years. Building meaningful relationships with your coworkers is critical to your career success. And it doesn't have to be we're best friends, we hang out every day. And it doesn't have to be I don't mess with these people, I hate these people. There's a space in the middle where you can actually leverage those relationships and be authentic and show up as your full self and not be fake, right? But also leverage the relationship to get what you want. And that's what Selena's talking about. I teach that strategy in session 5 of my program. And I'm so glad to hear that it's been so beneficial to you. And I'm going to let you kind of talk about how you use it in a minute, but we want to slow walk the girls into the conversation.
No problem.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about sort of what made you reach out and say, I want to work with Ashley. Like, I think a lot of people maybe follow me online, or maybe they are familiar with my YouTube channel, or maybe they listen to my podcast, right? So, you know, you're in my ecosystem, but they haven't, been a part of a program. They've never invested in their career development. So what made you say, I want to work with Ashley. I feel like Ashley can help me advance my career. Was there anything about me or my approach to mentorship or, anything that made you say, yeah, I'm going to move forward?
Yeah. So I, have followed you and I've seen the success of other people before me. And I was like, I need that. And because I was finishing my master's degree in legal studies, and I just was like, well, I need to kind of like, create a roadmap, position myself for something better with now having, finished this degree. And so I wanted to see for myself. And I also reached out to Evan. He was like,
yes,
and so I was like, all right, bet. And I did. And it is about taking that chance and that risk for your own self and believing in yourself and taking those steps. And that was like an important step of me reaching out and wanting to contact you. Like, okay, let me give her a try.
I love that. And you talked about the fact that like you came to me after finishing a degree and we're like, I have this degree, but I don't really know how to use it. I have this degree, but I'm not sure how to best leverage it. I have this degree, but how do I transfer from having a degree to actually speaking to the expertise that I gained in the curriculum to actually show up as a top candidate to an employer? And, I think that that's such an important lesson and a big part of like my approach to mentorship is that, I have a PhD in education, right? Like I'm not telling nobody not to go get their degree, not to go get their credential. Nobody believes in education more than me, but I also want you to be strategic and intentional about the degrees that you're earning to make sure that you're leveraging these degrees in a way that's actually going to help you make more money and have more impact. Because a lot of women, Black women in particular, are collecting degrees, credentials, certification, trainings, all of this stuff, and then don't know how to use it. And I think that is so unfortunate because while we're collecting all of these degrees, credentials, certifications, we're also often collecting a lot of debt. Right. And so we are significantly contributing to the massive amounts of, collegiate debt in this country, but we're still only making 58 cents on the dollar to our white male counterparts. So some got to shift. Right. And so I love what you talked about is that like, you were like, I'm not just going to get the degree and think that it's going to answer every problem. I'm going to get this degree, but I'm also going to invest in my career development through expert level mentorship so that I just don't have another piece of paper, but don't know what to do about it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. And so I want to talk about the investment, right? You had to invest in yourself, invest, in the program to be a part of it. It's a multi-4-figure investment. And I think that a lot of women are really scared about that. They're like, Ashley, you want me to pay thousands of dollars to get mentorship? So can you talk, Selena, about like how you were processing that investment. Like, you know, was that a big lift for you? Were you like, oh, you know, throw money at the wind, it's fine? Like what, like talk to me about like how, like how, and if at all, the investment to hire an expert career coach was for you.
Yeah. So prior to me just signing up with you, I had thought about it, and I, you know, and I just was like, okay. And I just made made sure I had the finances to do it. And, you know, it was a big, you know, it was a step, because, you know, taking that money and to invest into, you know, making sure you plan out a good path for, you know, your career choices. And, you know, like I said, I had just finished my graduate degree program. So I just was like, I want to make sure I set myself up in the best way, and I'm willing to pay the money, you know, and like I said, seeing your, the people who've gone before me through your program, I was just like, you know, I'm willing to take the risk and really willing to, you know, apply whatever methods you have.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's investing in yourself.
Yeah.
And I think what you gave and what you provided is things that are timeless for me, and I can always just use.
Yeah.
So
I love to hear that.
It was a great investment, and it was so beneficial, and it was worth it.
Yeah.
100%.
I'm so glad to hear that. Oh, that is so affirming. Thank you for sharing that. And I hope that for other people who might be listening to this, who might be, you know, scared to invest in their career development or nervous about, you know, if they'll get a return on the investment, like you heard Selena say, like a lifetime of strategies, not just, you know, to this new $20,000 salary increase, right? And in this new role, but a lifetime of strategies she'll be able to apply for her continued career development. And that, you know, for so many of my mentees, it is an investment. Like they have to, you know, move some money around. They might have to say no to this thing and yes to, you know, their career development. It is a decision that they have to make, but it's definitely one that you said is 100%, you know, worth it. And I'm glad to hear that.
100%.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that. So now let's talk, let's kind of go back to the strategies you were talking about. You talked about session 6 and like making the coffee and being intentional about like letting people know that you're job searching or building relationships so that you can leverage them to advance your career. Can you talk to me more about some of the strategies that you learned in the Mentor Me Accelerator that really helped you position yourself well for this new role?
So with making a coffee and just creating this like general basic conversation and just like relationship with my employees, my coworkers. And just building those relationships were, like I said, pivotal in what, where I am now. And so in that, I took on a position to be on this committee for the university. And so with that, I was able to build broader relationships with other people and doing different various projects. And so I think in having that level of engagement, not just, you know, common conversation, but actually working on projects with other people and like, you know, willing to pick up like slack and just kind of working together collaboratively as a team, I was able to kind of like, you know, foster better relationships moving forward. And then also it allowed me to kind of manage up. Right. And so managing up, you know, really kind of like alleviated some of the imposter syndrome because I was able to utilize other skills in different projects that we are currently and previously had put together. And so with that, people can see what I can. And, you know, and with that, it came this growth. This position came about. And so I was like, oh, okay, it was kind of relief because I was like, you know, these daily tasks are killing me. And so with that, managing up and joining and being a part of this committee gave me that ability to showcase what else I can do and not just where I was. And that was super important. And I, you know, for me, that was highly beneficial. It's because you know, you talked about you can have supervisors or managers who don't know how to, you know, utilize you. Or, you know, and so you're like, well, let me show you.
Exactly.
Right. And so with that, I've now just like done independent projects, like I'm co-sharing and different teams. And so that right there just, and it gave me more freedom, and it just really opened up different doors.
Yes, I
my
love that. I
so,
love to talk about freedom. And so, you know, Selena, I asked Selena, for those of you who just joined the conversation, I asked Selena, like, what were the specific strategies that you learned in the Mentor Me Accelerator that really helped position you as a top candidate for this role? And she said flat out, session 6, where I talk about making the coffee and building meaningful relationships with your colleagues, with your supervisors, with your coworkers, so you can leverage those relationships to get what you want at work. Like, that was a major strategy for her. And she also talked about managing up. So, right, this idea around managing up and leading from where you are. And one of the things that are foundational to Mentor Me programs is what we call demonstrated expertise, right? So one of the ways that you stand out in the marketplace is not just by saying, I'm a team player, I'm a hard worker, I can do it. You have to demonstrate your expertise. And Selena was in a place where she was kind of like underwhelmed by her current role. Her skills far surpassed the role, but she was pigeonholed. The organization couldn't see past what she was already doing. So she had to leverage those relationships, build those relationships, get outside of the bubble so that people could see her work in a new light. And now they're like, oh, Selena can do that, even though she was telling them and her resume said that. It's about demonstration, your demonstrated expertise that really helps employers take notice and pay you top dollar for your expertise. And those are strategies that I teach in session 5 and session 6. And session 7 of the Mentor Me Accelerator. And that's what really unlocked it for Selena, that it wasn't just about her resume, her cover letter, her LinkedIn. It was about her ability to demonstrate the expertise so that the employer could actually see her. And I think that like is something I want to talk a little bit about more, because one of the greatest myths in the world of work is that to make more money, you have to go outside of your current organization. You got to go find a new job, find a new organization, find a new industry. You got to completely flip the script to make more money. And Selena's story is an example that that myth is just that, a myth. It's not true. You can make massive amounts more in your current organization by being better positioned in the marketplace, by being able to speak to your expertise in a more meaningful way, being able to get a higher level salary through the skills that you already had, that you've been had, that they maybe knew you had, but weren't well demonstrated, right? And so I think that that's so powerful. And like, you broke a ton of myths. I mean, a 20K salary increase in education, Selena, the girls are like, you can't make no money in education. You know, like there's all these myths. So can you kind of talk about, I'd love for you to just kind of talk about some of the mindset shifts that you and I work through, and maybe even some of the ones that you have gone on to kind of like unlearn in through your career development, you know, through strategies you learned in Mentor Me.
So just if we just talk about just the negotiations and being confident in negotiations is highly important, because it's also about knowing your value, knowing your worth, and making sure that you convey that. And before I took this position, I asked questions. I asked questions about other people that I would be engaged with. And I wanted to know what level of autonomy, because that goes back to, what are your deal breakers?
Yes. What are your values? What are your deal breakers? Yes.
Exactly. And I wanted to know what level of autonomy that I was going to have, and who would be my supervisor, my manager. Because also it goes into how I would develop my 30, 60, 90-day plan.
Yes.
Right. And and so with that, knowing who I would be answering to, knowing their managerial style, I'm like, okay, no, I have to have a plan for this person. I know I do. Somebody else who's not even on my team, they offered to also cross-train me. In their aspects, they do federal contracts, so they're willing to train me on that as well. And so I was like, that, and I want to make sure that
new skill, thank you.
So I wanted to make sure I implement that into my 30, 60, 90-day plan. So, managing up, knowing what your deal breakers are is highly important. Asking those questions about like, who are you going to be answering to? What's the external sphere? Because, this is a different level. And I want to be mindful of who the players are outside of my team. Because that's important to me. And I was open and honest with my supervisor about that. I just was like, who am I answering to? what are the expectations?
Yeah.
And so that really helped me kind of like prepare and mentally shift. So having going through your program, and it built that confidence of asking and being direct, really bossing up.
Yes,
Okay.
I love that.
Because you are an expert in your own right, and you should be able to project that and say that and be confident about it. And that was highly important. And that's what got me here. That was a mentality shift. It's okay. People don't know what to do with me, but let me show you.
Let me show you. That's it. Let me show you, and let me show you to the bag that you can give me for doing the things that I'm already good at. Let me show you the pathway to the money that you can give me for doing the things that I'm already good at. And you talked about confidence. One of the things that women come to me time and time again, Ashley, I just don't feel confident in my career. I don't feel confident in my decision making. I don't feel confident. And, one of the things I always say is that confidence comes from winning. But you can't win until you know you have a game plan, until you have a strategy, until you're implementing the strategy and you're seeing wins. When you get a call back from an employer, that feels like a win. When you go on the interview and you crush the interview, that feels like a win. When you get the job offer, that feels like a win. When you successfully negotiate the offer, that feels like a win. And all of that is what makes you feel confident. Confidence is not going to drop from the sky, sweetheart. It's not going to drop from the sky. You're not going to wake up one day and feel confident. I don't care how many motivational quotes you read and how many scriptures you jot down in your journal. It's not going to exude confidence out the blue. You have to do the work to feel confident. Confidence comes from winning. And so what you've described is that, like, along the journey, you were starting to feel more and more confident. Okay, I'm on a committee and now I'm managing up. Confident check, but confident boost, right? Okay, now I'm being heard. My colleagues are listening to me. They're seeing my value. Confidence boost. Oh, there's a new opportunity. We'd love for you to apply for this. Confidence boost. You get the call back. Confident. Like, it's just a ladder of confidence. And so, and I think sometimes we we're like, well, as soon as I feel confident, I'm going to invest in mentorship. Or as soon as I feel confident, I'm going to apply for jobs. And it's like the confidence comes from the work, not the other way around, right? It comes from the work. Okay, so I have a couple other questions for you. I want to get at some things that I think sort of women struggle with around career development and this growth. And if any of you who are watching live have questions, go ahead and put your questions in the comment section. You can use the little question box at the bottom. Selena and I are happy to answer your questions and make sure that you understand how this can be available to you as well. So I want to know, let's talk about the new role. Let's talk about this $20,000 salary increase, this higher level role. Talk to me about, what it felt like, what the interview process was like, any strategies you were using from the accelerator to really show up as a top candidate in the interview. I'd love to hear about that. Talk to me about the offer and your ability to negotiate the offer. In session 5, we talk about negotiating a job offer and really how to do that well. So I'd love to hear some insights from that as well.
Yes. So, like I said before, this really goes back to making a coffee, honestly. And so what happened was one of my colleagues, they left. And when they put in their resignation, they told me after all of this, they were like, I think Selena would be perfect for this position. I can't think of nobody else who would, do a
what an endorsement.
Okay. And so for me, once they said that to me after they had put in their resignation, and they were like, she told both my supervisor and the director of my team that she can't imagine nobody else who would, take over her position. And so that meant a lot to me, because that, once again, that showcases how people view you and your work ethic, within the department, within the team. And so, just a few weeks ago, I had the interviews with my supervisor and director, and they had also had the same kind of mindset. They were like, we couldn't think of anybody else but you. We think that this would be beneficial for you and you can grow. And I was just so thrilled. And then also when I had my second interview with my the executive director and the vice chancellor for our office, they were like, we wanted you in this position. We literally discouraged you from the other one because we didn't want you.
We really want you to take this specific position. We're trying to get you on our team. I love that, Selena.
So, So to have my coworkers, my supervisor, my director, and the my executive director and the senior vice chancellor all pulling for me to be in this place really meant a lot for me, just personally and professionally.
Yeah.
Because you have a team rallying around you, and with that, once I accepted the position, like I said, I had another director from our federal contracts team say, "Hey, I'll train you. I'll show you what we do." And then my other colleagues who aren't even there anymore, when they found out, they were like, "I will show you whatever it is that you need. Like, I got you." And I was like, so thrilled that other people who were my coworkers there and presently there, all willing to just show me the ropes and to just help me in any way that they can, meant so much. And
absolutely,
those small conversations.
Yes.
Well, it trickled in.
Big results. Small conversations, big time results. And, I think that it's interesting because a lot of people think that like networking is going to save them. They got to like go to happy hours and they got to watch people's kids and they got to like smooge and do all of these things to like make somebody like them and have somebody put them on. But there's a more intimate strategy. There's a more intentional strategy, and it's called making the coffee, as Selena described. And it's one that I teach because I know that some of that sort of gloss over networking isn't what moves the needle. It's building intentional relationships that can actually yield really impactful results. And it's also about your ability to demonstrate your expertise in the organization so that it's not just somebody else's word, but it's also what they have already seen from you. So like, can you talk a little bit about, Selena, like the feedback, right? The advice that you would give. Well, actually, before I ask that question, talk to me. I want to know about like the program. Like, you were in a small group cohort with other women you were learning with, right? Weekly office hours, weekly strategy sessions, weekly homework. I think a lot of people want to know, like, what does it look behind the scenes? Like, I know Ashley gonna be a mentor, but like, what does that mean? What does it look like? Can you talk about like what it was like for you to go through the program with other women, like the community, the homework, the expectations of being my mentee, like what that looked like for you?
Oh yes. So I thought it was great because as you're talking and you're going through the different subject levels, you're finding out that you're not alone.
Yes.
And you're finding out that, like, I think it was like the first lesson you talk about like imposter syndrome. And then, God, that's me.
Yeah.
And when you hear other people also dealing with the same thing, and it gets you out of your head. And I think that was highly important. And then once you keep going through and you keep pulling back these like layers, you're like, oh, okay, I can do this. And because as you see people go through, they get these offers and they share how they did it and what it took. And I think that gives you the encouragement along the way as you go through the process. And the homework matters because
yes, it matters.
I still go back and I go and I look. And I'm definitely going back into my 30, 60, 90-day plan because those things really do play a major part. And because you still want to position yourself. You don't want to let those things like kind of go by the wayside. So I think they're always very useful tools. And then also going through the different lessons and seeing how everybody else kind of lays it out.
Yes.
And, what their mindsets are. And especially if those who are within your field, you kind of like, oh, okay, you might like take bits and pieces from them and learn from it. And I think that was something that was important. And then you make like friendships and relationships along the way. And you see their success, and it's great to kind of get those connections and then see other people's success thereafter. So I think it's a very good and I highly recommend it program. Like,
Thank you for sharing that. I think that, sometimes women have a lot of like fear, shame, or, nervousness about like being mentored in small group. Maybe they had, a bad experience before and they're like, I don't know, like I'm nervous about small group. And so I literally have never had a mentee prefer to work with me one-on-one. Every mentee's like, I'm so grateful for the group. I'm so grateful for the community. I'm so grateful I can see what other people are doing. I'm so glad to know other people in my field are job searching too. Like, I'm so glad to like hear them talk about how they're challenged and like be able to commiserate with them. I'm so glad to celebrate them when they get their offers coming in. You know what I'm saying? Like that community that I mentor in is really powerful. It's a powerful community to be a part of. And I'm glad that you share that.
And to never be discouraged, even finish and you don't get like an offer while you're within that time frame, because you just got to keep going. And even in the process, like I was applying to jobs and interviewing, but then like some things just wasn't, you know, panning out. And once again, it goes back to, what do you value? Do they meet what you want? Okay. And like, you know, I had an interview where somebody showed up really, really lax. They had a hoodie on, they were sick, and I was just like, this ain't it for me.
This ain't it. This is not the job for me, right? This is not aligned with my values.
It that, you know, and some people may be cool with that, but you also kind of got to know what it is that you want. And so I think that plays a major part in not being discouraged after being in the 8-week session, not being discouraged. Just keep going, keep applying the same rules, because then you'll find something, whether it's within or without, you know, in a different company. And I had to keep that faith. I had to maintain that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I think that what's special is that, you know, my program is accelerated, right? Like we move fast because I know a lot of women are not being paid well for their expertise. They want to make more money most immediately. And so the program is intentionally 8 weeks because we are going to move fast to get you what you want in your career. But Selena's story is the perfect example of that. Not every mentee that comes through my program gets the role that they desire within the 8 weeks, right? But I'm your mentor still. Like, I'm not going to abandon you. I don't just drop you off and be like, good luck, sis. I have a 30-day follow-up, a 90-day follow-up. There's a continuation program. Like, I'm never going away. The truth is that I'm constantly following up with my mentees, checking in, seeing how things are going, seeing how I can support them, just to make sure that they know that they're not in this alone, and that, you know, the strategies work, right? The strategies work when you work them. And so your story, Selena, is one of continued like diligence, right? And commitment to following the strategies and never forgetting that the things that you desire for your career are available to you. And so for the woman who's on the fence, who's like, I don't know, I've been watching Ashley's lives, I've been stalking her on her website, I, you know, listen to the podcast, but I don't know, like, what feedback would you give her? Like, what would you say to her to really encourage her to invest in herself and her career development?
I say you have to push past that kind of like fear or anxiety, whatever it is, and just give it a chance. Because like if you've done everything else and nothing's working, it's well worth the investment. I had the same idea, like, oh my gosh, should I? And it was just like, well, why not? You know? And sometimes, you know, we can try to work through our university's career services, and it's not the same. It's not the same. So I say with this personalized, you know, program and developing your own strategy, you know, helps you create that roadmap. Like I said, it's something that you can continue to use throughout time. It's really timeless. And so that initial investment is worth it because it can just go beyond all the way up until retirement, until you're done.
Yes, I love that. Come on, an investment that lasts through retirement. I love to hear it. And I mean, talk about a return on investment. I mean, you had secured a $20,000 salary increase. Your investment was less than 5% of the total salary increase that you got. So, I mean, these girls are out here paying $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, $80,000 for degrees and not seeing the same return on the investment. So yeah, definitely lifetime value. And I'm so glad that you shared that.
You can keep positioning yourself up and up because now you know these negotiation skills, you know, and you have these different things that can kind of help you, like, once again, manage up. And, you know, it's important because it helps you grow your career, and it's definitely worth the investment. If you don't know how to strategize, if you don't know what to do with what you got, it's a perfect program. Like, I 100% believe in it because I, you know, so many times, like I reframed how I laid out my resume. Like I needed to showcase my skills. I needed to reframe how I wrote different things, because the market is different in every place. And so you need to understand how to like reframe how you think and how your resume is. And so because you wanted to be able to showcase your skills and your abilities, and they need to be able to see that off the rip when you submit that, because, you know, in seconds, they're like, yeah, okay, and keep it moving. So I think it is important to, you know, do this investment if you want that career move, because even this, you know, promotion within my job, and this is my second promotion in 1 year. And so, you know, shout out. So, you know, and I really appreciate the things that I learned. And now I'll be a contracts officer. So I'll be doing contracts, doing clinical trials, doing material transfers.
So like, major.
Yeah, so like, with, you know, various major institutions. And so, you know, for me, that's a skill that I wanted and that I need and that I enjoy. And so having that skill set and knowing where I want to go with my degree, you know, and just my professionalism is so, you know, this program really helped shape that. It really helped me to articulate what it is that I can do. And so moving forward, now, you know, gaining this skill, if I go somewhere else, I know how to articulate where it is that I want to go. Like I know how, and I know what to expect, and I know what I'm willing to exchange things on. It's important. It's a life roadmap.
Yes, it is. And in session 8 of the Mentor Me Accelerator, we go through and we build out a 30-day, a 90-day, a year-long roadmap so that you're not guessing anymore. You're not like, well, I don't know if I should do this. Should I consider this? You know, we're building that roadmap, and then I'm following up with you again and again and again to hold you accountable for the roadmap that you're building, right? And so it really is lifetime value, right? Selena got 2 promotions and a $20,000 salary increase in a year. 1 year. I mean, think about waiting. I'm gonna wait till next year. You leaving $20,000 on the table waiting until next year. You cannot afford to wait till next year. You need this money now, right? What's the mean? How am I gonna get this money by tomorrow? That's like, Selena was like, I'm gonna get this money today. Like, I'm not gonna wait on it. I'm not gonna sit on it. I'm gonna get the money today.
I really believe that if I hadn't taken this, you know, being on that committee, I was just like, oh my God, I'm just on another committee. But I took that opportunity to manage up because I was so bored, underwhelmed, and I know I can do way more. And there's opportunity within my office. Let me just, you know, use this position to show what I can do. And then look where I'm at. And then so many other doors had opened, and then my, you know, colleagues just like, hey, I'm here to help you wherever you need to go to help me grow. To you know, like really hold you up, and you know, that relinquishes that fear of failure. Because you have a whole group of people that are rooting for you. It was amazing to see how many people were like, I got you, whatever you need.
Right. And I think that that's something that you can build. I think a lot of people feel like, oh, like I got to be out here on myself. I'm, you know, I'm a renegade. Like I got to do it by myself. But you don't have to do it by yourself. Even if you don't have great relationships with your coworkers right now, those are things that I teach you how to build so that you can use them to advance your career. There are strategies for that, right? Like it's not innate. You don't just have to have a bubbly personality or a winning smile. There are strategies that we teach in the program to really help you learn how to leverage these relationships so that you're never again on a committee wasting time with your camera off being like, yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like we're actually engaging in a way that positions our expertise that helps us grow as a professional so that we really get what we want out of our career. So again, if you have questions, I want to invite you to put your questions in the chat. I want to make sure that Selena and I answer your questions. We'll be on the live for a few more minutes. So please put any questions you have in the chat. I wanted to share that if you have heard Selena's testimony and you're like, Ashley, how do I get on? How do I get in? How do I like be in community with high achieving women like Selena so that I can also secure a $20,000 salary increase? I want to share with you that I'm accepting new mentees. Yes. I'm so excited. So I invite you to apply to work with me. You can do so right on my website at mentor-me.org. That's mentor-me.org. Go right to my website, click the button that says let's get started. You'll be able to schedule a call with me. I have availability. Actually, I have some this afternoon, but also on Monday and Tuesday next week, and we'll go ahead and get you onboarded and get you started. So again, that's mentor-me.org. I'm so excited to help more professional women advance their career. And I'll tell you that this month, like literally, well, not this month because we're in April now, but last month, in the month of March, I had 4 different mentees secure $20,000 salary increases in their existing organization, and wow, Selena included. So four mentees, $100,000 among the 4 of them, all within their same organization. Stop letting people lie to you and tell you that your current job doesn't have any money and they can't pay you no more and they got all these rules and regulations and you can't make no money there. Like, certainly if you want to transition industries, transition jobs, I'm happy to help you do that. But your organization has more money than they let know. And there's a strategy to getting more money out of them. You just have to know the strategy, right? And so I teach that strategy in my programs. And that's why my mentees in March are like blowing it out of the park, $100,000 just in those 4 mentees, all within their current organization. And one works in government, one works in nonprofit, one works in education, and the other one works in digital, like in IT, like digital marketing. So across different industries, right? So don't let anybody tell you, oh, people in government don't make no money, or the salary boxes, you can't move above them, or education, you can, like, all of that is a lie. Right? It's all, it's just smoke and mirrors, right? It's not really accurate for what's going on in the market today. We're in a different market. We're in a different market in 2022 than we were in 2019. So if you applying 2019 rules to today, you're behind the 8 ball, right? You have to have contemporary career development strategy to actually match what's going on in industry today. And that's what I teach in my programs. Not outdated, what works for, white men who are 60, like, that's not what we're teaching here. We're teaching strategies that work for women of color today. And I think that that's really what makes it stand out. So I want to ask Selena, is there anything else you want to share? Anything, any other insight, anything you want to just let the people know in today's live before we hop off?
I just really can't stress enough that having a good form of engagement is so important. It's not saying that like I worked in perfect environmental conditions, but working on a team that I did, and just like we picked up the slack for anybody at any time. Like, it was just, you really want to foster those types of relationships, because people remember.
Yes.
People remember. And my coworker, like, it was unexpected, but she remembered, and people remember how you treat them. And, and I can't say how important that is. It's just to be mindful of that. Yeah, they're your colleagues, but like, while you're in that time, just work it, just work it.
Yes,
Because if there is opportunities, not just in your department, but somewhere within, your space, you want to move to a different unit or however, like, that plays a pivotal role as well, because they'll put in that good word for you. And I had everyone from our executive management down to my team management all rooting for me, positioning me for this behind the scenes before I even knew. So it's very important to have that good relationship.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that, they say, I saw a quote recently that was like, relationships are the new currency, right? Like, they're the new money. And it's important that you know how to nurture those relationships, how to build those relationships, how to use those relationships. And that's the part that's a skill. I think that people are like, okay, that means I got to be friends with my coworkers. Cool, check. But there's an intentionality behind it. It's an on purpose thing. And it's not fake or like using people. It really is like how to build a meaningful working relationship with your boss, with your coworkers, with your colleagues, with your supervisors, with senior level leaders. And managing up is a skill. It's a real skill. And I'm really proud to have helped you build that skill, Selena, and see the return on your investment, to see the results. I just could not be more proud. So thanks everyone for joining today's live. Thank you, Selena, for sharing your story so willingly with me. I'm so grateful for your transparency. And I am just so excited for all the things that are next for you in your career, seeing you in this new role where you are really bossing up, like you said, and really doing the work is going to be powerful. And for other women who are looking for expert level mentorship, to really support them in their career development, to teach them how to build the relationships that they need to build to really grow their career, and to have a mentor who's going to hold you accountable, who's going to
Yes.
walk alongside you in your career. I invite you to work with me. Again, I'm accepting new mentees right now, and you can apply to work with me right on my website at mentor-me.org. That's mentor-me.org. Thank you, Selena.
Absolutely. It's worth the investment, guys. I say do it 100%.
Yes, an endorsement from Selena, a contracts officer. Listen, she knows contracts, so she'll tell you if it's faulty, but it's not. She said 100%
It's not.
investment. Thanks, Selena.
Yes.
Thanks, everyone, for watching.
You're
Bye.
welcome. Bye.